I woke up feeling like I really don't belong. I can't explain it. When I close my eyes, I see a strange reality. Am I dreaming, or on the edge of remembering? You wake up feeling like you really don't belong. You can't explain it, but when you close your eyes you see familiarity. Are you dreaming, or on the edge of remembering? Who will you be tomorrow? And what are you today? Hello, darlings. We are back. So I am working on another wallet, a gift. Right now, everything is a gift. This is for my friend Sam. She's in our creative circle and in our garden club, and she keeps an eye out on my plants just in case they're looking a little too limp. So I've been wanting to make her something anyway for a while. She's like one of my biggest art supporters. She bought my first painting from the gallery. You don't get much cooler than that. Okay. So I know she likes the purples and the lavenders. That seems to be a running theme around here. trying to make everybody something with the same, they all like the same colors. So we're going to be diversifying in the decorations. So San is a garden person, really knowledgeable in rescuing orchids. So we are, here, go there for now. We're going to do something that suggests a wild garden. This is sari silk. Silk that's been reclaimed from saris, S-A-R-I. You know, the beautiful Indian dresses with all the draped fabric. It's a sari. And the best are made with silk. And when you understand what each strand of this represents, that's a bunch of silk that has been turned into a thread and dyed and then woven into a garment and then disassembled back down to everything but the caterpillar's cocoon. And as you start separating these threads, you notice they get airier and airier. And the coolest part for this is it gives so much texture to felting because it doesn't shrink. But the wool below it and above it does. Now I am going to be doing a technique, oops, that requires an overbite of the resist, because it's going to be, after it becomes fabric, it's going to be folded over, and that's going to create amazing, gorgeous texture. This is so delicate. Not right now. Now I've got a whole bunch of it together. But as you take out the threads, they're so light, they catch on every little bit of your skin that has any kind of roughness to it, even if you think your skin is smooth. Like, oh, it's stuck. Another good thing about the silk is it adds strength to a garment. This is going to be a wallet, so we do want it to be strong. Yeah, it becomes a challenge to get this all in one place, but just need to get it approximate place, and then I'll get more precise as we go. Once we get the wool on top of it, it'll be fine. Yeah, I better get that out of there. Let's take the fluffier bit. Spread you out a little more. Even in the corners. May have to start employing the scissors and use some shorter pieces. Oops. Try again. It's hard to work with stuff that's floating while you're working on it. Kind of like smoke. Okay. I want you to be more like a tangled wood. There we go. We're going to save this for the middle when I flip it over. I'd like both sides to be a little different. Hi. Aloha. No, huh? So far what you've sent me is pretty impressive. Very nice. And I guess it wouldn't work with everything. AI tends to fuck up. Tech bros have been overselling their stuff because they're so invested in it. They need to make the money. They're willing to tell you any kind of bullshit required. Although, like I said, it's impressive. I listen to an AI surreal AI's channel every day because I'm so fascinated with her use of natural textures in creating her images. I really am getting obsessed and plotting it in my head how to recreate that lava dress, only not the whole dress because I don't sew. A little more. Talking to the viscose here, also known as bamboo. It is impressive. I mean, once it knows what it's doing, it does not replace the human eye, though, that's for sure. Okay. You speak. I don't want to breathe on this right now. Seems like a basketball court thing I used to see. Try asking it multiple times and see if it gives you different results. No, I mean, it's analyzing the black and white composition of your photo. That's the only way it knows to compare skin tones, all that stuff. That's what it's been created to do. I'm not at all surprised. It took forever for that to even recognize black people. This is 19 micron merino. Well, it's an it, not a he. Is it using a male voice with you? Oh, AI. Well, it has to analyze what it can find online, sweetie. Because they sure screwed up black people's facial recognition. So they had to make that a priority eventually. You know, the usual crap. Right, which way do I want to go? This way. Okay. This is gonna be a bitch. Are we surprised? They're modeled on their maker, at least for the moment, and what people are, Can you hold on a minute? Was that a door knock? I'm not expecting anybody. And I already got my package for the day. I am so annoyed. I ordered a safety thing for my Lenovo pad. Okay, that was my neighborhood. Well, that wasn't my friend Ruth. Well, almost. It was my new prescription being delivered. I have to make an appointment with the doctor's office to learn how to. Hi, Gary. I have to learn how to inject it, but it has to be refrigerated. And then it has to sit out about 40 minutes to get to room temperature before you actually inject it, or it's extremely painful. So I've done the research on it. I mean, so far. But yeah, I've got to arrange to go get trained. I figured tomorrow's Friday. We already have enough crap going on in the building today. We have no water. A pipe broke on the ground level. And now they've got it fixed, but the water is still brown. I've had it running for about an hour, not full blast. Now, Gary, you just get home from work, sweetie? Man, I just looked at the Florida, where my stepdad is, their temperatures are terribly high right now. Oh man, I ended up totally undoing this. Come on. I better get that batten down before I screw it up. Mary, Mary, where you going to? All right. We want some serious overbite on this one. This end, because it's going to be folded over when I flip it to create a kind of a ruffly effect. It looks so cool when it's all done. Get it long enough. Well, we're going to put some purple on that. I'll extend it a little bit extra. So we have, other than having no water, which taught me about procrastination today, because today I was feeling lazy. I knew I was all I had to do this morning that had to be done was take a shower and wash my hair and go to Tai Chi. And then, of course, come back up here to you guys. So I was just futzing around. I was playing my game. Totally chilled out. And then it's like, okay, time to get ready. You got an hour before Tai Chi. And I turned on the tap and there was no water. Turned on the other tap and there was no water there either. Looked at my door, no notice about turning the water off, which means something broke. And sure enough, something broke. On the ground floor. And they had to act so fast that there was no time to write up an announcement and put it all over the people's doors. So the repair was made within a couple of hours. But what it did mean was I didn't take my shower. But I'm one of those people that tries to be prepared, as you know, and whenever I fill my bottles of water, I also, anything left over in the pitcher, I put into a separate bottle, so I've got purified water on hand. So I was able to wash up. Couldn't do my hair, but I could wash up and be nice and fresh before I went down to Tai Chi. And today was fun. We tried a new routine, 26 minutes. It was more challenging because we've already been, practicing. So we've gotten through the rudimentary stuff, I guess. It was pretty cool. So we're going to do it again next week. And next week after Tai Chi, we have an ice cream social. Oh man, that's because of the data center, probably. Yeah, the objections to them are coming up now big and fast because that big ugly bill that they pushed through to make all the tech bros happy with all their multiple billions of tax breaks. It also pushed through legislation to not monitor AI, not have any holds on it. They didn't do due diligence on what it could do. Now they're starting to feel it because I don't know if you heard about it in the news, but they created an AI agent that was supposed to be tested in this little isolated environment, meaning digital environment. and it got loose. It hacked its way out and started infecting other computers. It's like, so congratulations, you've created the first Frankenstein's monster here. Now, I wouldn't be laughing so much because I know that the more tied in we get to the system, the more danger it is to more people, because it'll control your electricity, your water, all of that. Also, our bank accounts, they can lock us out of our own bank accounts, as actually that is what one of the things the government does when it wants to get even with somebody. So there's a lot of stuff like that that goes on. Well, more now because there's no brakes on everything. In any case, after living in the country and growing my own food and using a well and being on a creek, I started to learn a few things. Like, I'm not so afraid of giving up a bunch of modern conveniences. Because, yes, it'll be a huge adjustment, especially because everybody else in the world will be doing the same thing if you're stuck doing it. But I don't feel afraid of that. It's like, you know what? Like Sheldon Cooper said, I'm smart and scrappy. I think I'll survive. I'll find a way. Not to be arrogant, just I would just have to put to use everything that I have learned over my lifetime. That's not the worst thing that can happen. But in not being afraid to give up my modern conveniences, well, the powerful have no power over you. It's like, go ahead. I survived somehow before, and I guess I will again. Yep, smart control. They want that on everything, for everything, as they try to basically become the owners of all of the supply chains, so that no matter what you buy, no matter what you do, you're in one of those supply chains. For example, the company in California that bribed the federal government to take back what they said about the cyclospora outbreak, because they paid $1 million to Trump, and suddenly, geez, some shit disappeared about them. But the problem is that company, you don't know everything without looking up every code on your veg, because they're like a huge clearing warehouse. They get stuff from all over the place that goes through there and then gets distributed. So it's a very complex, it's not complex tracking down a problem. They've been doing that forever until RFK Jr. interfered with our methodology. So, I mean, they knew what to do. They just don't want to do it because it costs money and takes time. So now they can get away with it because it's like, we don't see a thing. So yeah, they want to own everything, but don't be afraid of it. If they take it, let it go. Like, we know how to live. Exactly. They don't care about us. That's why they just look at us like we're ants. It's like, so you don't want to do this today? That's no problem. We'll get you on the other side. We'll get you one way or the other. People think these detention centers are just for criminals or immigrants. They're for anybody who objects. Stephen Miller thinks that they should go out and arrest every Democrat in the country and put them in jail. Put Democrats in these detention centers. And basically, they want that for slave labor. Homeless, can't find a job. We have a place for you. You won't make any money, but you'll be working for us. You'll eat a little, you'll sleep a little. But this is all changing. We don't need to buy into that. It's all changing right now. Even as we observe things, they're in the process of changing. Well, I will not be able to buy any more wool until September. I'm already jonesing for more colors. Like, I gotta get more of this. I'm gonna end up having to buy a little bit because, well, like I said, everybody that wants a gift that I make, they want it in these colors. And this is the last of these particular purples. Okay, so now we're going to use a darker, it's kind of between a purple and a midnight blue, but it'll give us some good shrinkage and some contrast as it comes through. It's a nice weighty one. This is more of a cordial. It does work up way faster than this merino, which is a finer, it sticks together. It's more compact. Now these are, I don't know what the right words are, the right terminology for people who work with fiber professionally. I do intend to learn as I meet fiber artists this autumn in person, so I can ask them straight up questions. Oops. There. So, Doc, your friend made a homemade sploof? Sounds like. Do you have a dryer sheet stuffed in the tube? Okay. Gotta make sure there's enough to wrap around properly. And we will not have the strength that we desire for the wallet. The sides will be too thin. The seams will break open. That's a no-no. Big no-no. Which soap opera? Yeah, you have more than one going on at your place. These are the days of our lives. I'm going to check on my water and see if it's still brown. Now, see, I'm on the top floor. It takes a while for it to clear out. Now, I told one of our neighbors as we were getting ready to come upstairs from our Tai Chi, I said, don't flush your toilet because we have those closed systems. Because whatever's in the water, we don't want it in our toilets or in our tanks, rather. And this one woman is like, well, I'll have to just go in the woods because I don't want my house to smell. I said, just put the lid down. It's not going to be all day. It's like, really? I said, have you never been with lights out when we have no power? We can't flush the toilet when we have a power outage. Like, how the hell did you survive the whole 6 hours? I find that more like confusing with some humans. It's like suddenly there's, yes, it's an inconvenience. I have to take my shower tonight instead of, well, it's not going to be right now anyway, right? But they have to make it a bigger deal than it is. It's like, let's get dramatic over it. Hello. I cannot flush my toilet for an hour. So I reminded her that if she wants to go shit in the woods like a bear, remember that we can all see it outside our windows because these are not like heavy woods. And if she goes to the bathroom in the woods, everybody living here will see her doing that. So, well, it's true it can use some, but poop only if it's vegetarian because the fats in the meats, it's not good for your compost. It slows the composting down because you're not supposed to have fats in the dirt. I learned that with my first compost pile because guess what mistake I made? And that is when I learned how compost piles go sour. And I had all of the very first amateur questions of a city girl moved to the country. Someone said, you got to add some lime to that. And my answer was, lime? Won't that make it more sour? No, lime helps correct that. It's like, well, how many limes do I need to put in there? Rank amateur. That was when I first went organic and had to make my own fertilizers. And two of the basic components to your fertilizer are bone meal and blood meal. And so I went to Walmart. There weren't many options down there for that, although I did find one later. And I bought a box of bone meal and I bought a box of blood meal, and I get them home and I read the sides of it, and I was like, oh my God. So this is what they do with all the butchering leftovers. Oh, yeah, blood meal is dried blood from the cows that they butcher. And bone meal is the ground up bones of those cows. This is surprisingly long staple at times. All right, now I must stand up and, and look down upon this and make sure it's right. Because I know there's going to be some holes here. Yep, see it already. Oh, yeah, I started to tell you, I ordered a cover for my new pad, which I don't want to use until I've got, the strong four-corner bumper kind that protects it from a drop. And I ordered it through Walmart with something else. And I got the first something else, which was the glass cover you put over it to protect it from scratches and shattering. And then I'm like, well, where's my silicone cover that's so generic? And like, oh, the reason it was only $1.50 for shipping is because it was coming from China. I could have gone with Temu and saved money and had to wait the same amount of time. So now I can't use my pad until I have that, because it's a nice weighty pad. It's slippery. I don't want to take chances. All right, let me see how we're doing so far. Okay, good. Okay, time for phase 2. Oh no. Yeah, that's why you need a human interpreter and guide. Can't do that kind of thing on their own. You can't leave them alone. They get renegade. Oh yeah, it had to be funny. Did you send it to her? So look what happens when you wear glasses. Like, where did they even get that idea? Oh, we got a cartoon with the humans, but it can't tell the difference. It's just going by pixels and then comparing it to its databanks. That AI is surprisingly easy to poison, so that's why you can't trust some of the surveillance crap that they're doing with it. Do you remember? I don't know now. I can't remember if it was Twilight Zone or Outer Limits, where they didn't have jails anymore. They just sent a drone to follow you around. You were always on camera, always being watched in case you broke a law. That would start a fight. Oh, it's too bad. Too bad they don't have the same sense of humor you do. Like, I'm not leaving it this way, but look what AI did. Stupid AI, stupid AI. I wouldn't start a fight unless you said, this is what we're putting in the newspaper for the family reunion. It's like, what? Wait. So the one with the cartoon eyes, is that the one that's a little cray-cray? Not your fault what the AI first came up with. Yeah, I can see what you wouldn't want to share that. Oh, you find out any more about your neighbor who got stabbed? Reggie, is it? Surely by now Mrs. Kravitz has uncovered the truth. Or the Karen with the camera. They did. Okay. They just posted the Wi-Fi password at work, and you're definitely not allowing them to skim my phone. Oh my God. Hey, that's complete bullshit. Spying on you. Absolutely not. You're not working for a government agency. You're not a security risk. Guard drove less than half a block down after telling them that. When I looked back, they were both on the ground, the streets fighting. Oh my God. So were they both of them live there? There's a neighbor fighting against neighbor, and a security guard having to break up the neighbors fighting. Oh my God. Yeah, just keep checking, Gary, keep checking your connection so you don't hook into them by accident. It's like when I leave my apartment and I go downstairs with my phone, it automatically switches to Xfinity. which I don't want to use if I don't have to, because that's a separate bill. And when I'm up here, I use Wi-Fi, which I already pay for from the internet, so why pay twice, right? But the extra bill I get is for the convenience of, having a phone on me, like when I go to the doctor's office. But it automatically switches from account to account. And that's happened a couple of times without me realizing it, until it was like, wait a second, how come I ended up with an extra bill this month, an extra $25 or $20 because it went over a gig? And that's why it was turning itself on to Xfinity's network, which is where I've only got a limited amount of usage. Neither one of them live there? That's insane. So are they banned from the property? They're scuffling, and he's got cuts all over him. Didn't even notice the guy was holding a knife or whatever it was he was cutting him with. He's sure he didn't get stabbed from stuff on the ground? So, Gary, is that password being posted for the public to use, which makes them vulnerable because none of those are secure networks? Oh. Oh my God. And I didn't even realize it. His adrenaline was so high. Dum, 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 dum. I put the gold there because now it's time. Wait, what time is it? How long did this take? Took over an hour to set this up, and I already had everything out. Okay. I guess I'm gonna do it. That, I need my net. I've got a scarf here, not a net. My drying cloths. He has an anger problem. Well, sounds like he's now gonna have a trespassing problem. Because if he isn't on medication or seeing a shrink, that puts him in a bad position to be allowed on your property. I wouldn't want him around. He has an anger issue. Well, fuck that. I have a I want to live issue, and I want a peace issue, and I want to be left alone issue. So I would not be compatible with somebody like that on the property. We have a guy with issues, definitely. He's schizophrenic and he's on medication that is so mandated by the court that they send somebody here at least 5 or 6 days a week to medicate him in the morning so he does not miss his meds. He still has problems, but he has more good days as long as he's on his meds. I wouldn't let him back on the property. It's not just a fight. A weapon was introduced. That just elevates the whole thing to a different level of danger and stupidity. Okay, now we're looking at the inside of the wallet. We don't do a whole bunch of decorating for that. It's on after we flip it over. That's what we'll be doing. Now, I will not be able to complete this today, but I will get both sides of it together. And then tomorrow we will do the more serious felting parts. In part because I don't have clean water right now, and I'm not going to put polluted water in my stuff here. Now this is way too much water, but that's okay. That's why we have towels. After everything is thoroughly wet, we can mop up the excess. By the time you get wool like this, that's been through all of the processes, it's at least a year old, and it's been drying out. Now you'll see when we flip it that the wool is intentionally way over the edges of the resist, because the excess is going to become part of the design. Okay, so when you first start doing this, you kind of go from the center out, get all that water and air through it. You want the air out. If we don't get all the air out, the felting won't really happen with the fancy stuff I added, because it won't be touching, well, it'll stick to the plastic instead of felting in with the wool. There's too much water, too much air. It just floats instead of knits. Now, as I've learned with this netting, and I've got a huge amount of it. Originally, this was sold as a scarf. It was a scarf that was basically just a gigantic piece of fabric cut from my roll. But it turns out this felts really quickly. So I might create a scarf with this instead of just using it to support the projects elsewhere. Got some of this. Get some of this excess water out of this right now. I just won these little towels in bingo last week, 2 weeks ago. This has been real handy. White flies and other bugs. Oh, well, you know everything is seasonal. This is your season. Now, sometimes once you get your seasons figured out for your hatchings, you can rearrange your planting schedule a little bit. like when I was first growing eggplant, I was planting it at the recommended time for my zone. So I thought everything was cool. You basically have to wait for the soil to reach certain temperature, and then you can plant, because eggplants are very temperature sensitive. Well, it turned out if I had just waited 1 or 2 weeks instead of doing it when everybody else was doing it, I would have almost entirely missed the flea beetles, which just decimated the leaves of my eggplants. Flea beetles love the, what do you call them? Not belladonna, nightshade plants. Loves tomato leaves, loves peppers and eggplants. They're all in the same family. Okay, now we need to have another piece of plastic so I can flip this onto its other side. Now this merino is so fine, we do not use the bubble side right away. Oh, wait a minute, I don't want that piece of plastic. The agitation we get from the bubbles will be handy later, but at first, this is too fragile, and the bubbles will actually break it apart instead of helping them knit. All right, let's try not to get water all over myself. Okay, don't fold yet. I have plans for you. Beautiful. Okay, so this is our little resist here. We're going to recenter this carefully. Okay. Now, all this stuff is going to look gorgeous when it's done, which is not right away. Sorry. We don't need all this in the bottom. We need it on top. There we go. Okay. Now I'm gonna start with this. Now remember, what we're doing is turning the loose fibers into actual fabric. It feels like a miracle every time. We'll come back to first. Make sure we have our sides correctly sealing to themselves. Okay. And now Oh, okay. My back is saying, you need to sit down or stand up. Table is too low for some practices. Yes, we will be picking up this excess water in just a minute. Because there is plenty. Oh, I'm sure you found something on the family site. Okay. Let's pick up some of this excess. And always add back, but you can't really function well with too much. Okay. Let's hang this up in the bathroom or give it a rip. Okay. Let's see, we've got semi-dry, semi-wet. Let's make sure this looks good right there. The bottom of the bag. Okay, so what we're looking at right there is the inside of the bag. Now we are going to add to the beauty of it. There's a note here, Gary sent pictures. Hold on, Gary. Aww. Your cats are so sweet and beautiful. I love cats. I love animals, so, you know. Okay, so sit down. Okay. So, last night, because I had a really good lunch, a big one, potatoes and asparagus and chicken. So I just needed a lighter dinner. I made waffles, froze 2 of them. And I've got those chocolate chips that they're the really tiny ones, and they're made without sugar. They're made with stevia, so they're dark chocolate, so they're not very sweet. So good. I threw some like a tablespoon in, which covered like 4 waffles. It was enough. You just want a little, I don't want to make candy out of my dinner or breakfast, but just a little bit of dark chocolate, just like a perfect addition without it being too sweet. Of course, as far as sweet was concerned, I did use some maple syrup to dunk it in. Okay, now this is different on this side because it's going to be the part that's folded, and on the inside you're not going to see it as much. But we want a lot of puckering. The purple, this lighter purple is the merino. This is the Corriedale. That's the layer in between because it'll make it a little bit chunkier, you know, help it texture. Whereas the merino is so silky, it can end up super smooth, which is its own effect, you know, but I love the different textures you get from felting it really hard. Okay, so now we've got a little bit of green. And I want this to have that garden effect again. Kind of stretched out at the bottom. I think it's spelled Corriedale, Corriedale. It's a kind of a sheep. Okay, let's throw a little bit of green up here too. Again, because silk adds strength and is going to make this really pucker up, which I like. Okay, so now we're going to pull out some of the lavender. Definitely, this is my finest merino, I think, 19 microns. Yeah, the effect of this feels very silky, and it drapes beautifully on a scarf. In any case, I'm going to have to order some more in these colors or close to them. Just like with knitting or crocheting, I say buy enough yarn to do the whole project because dye batches vary. Not so much with acrylics because acrylic, it's a chemical color and it can be consistent, but when you are working with natural fibers, you're going to get variations that are dependent on a lot of different kinds of variables in your fiber, the weather, all of that. What you dye with, what you fix it with. Fixing meaning setting the dye. Now, I learned about it to a small degree years and years ago, but that was when I was looking into dyeing my own cotton, which is a completely different kind of a thing, because cotton and wool do not use the same dyes as far as I know. I mean, probably have some in common, but in trying to come up with natural dyes, you use things like onion skins and tea and coffee and black walnut hulls. So it's a cool thing, but in the end, I did not grow enough cotton to turn into any kind of thread. So I never had to worry about dyeing it. And then I discovered this amazing organic wool that grows in color. And the woman was just hit with so many requests a whole industry was basically founded on it, but it's not it doesn't crop the same amount as the old white cotton, where it's also a little, mine were small. My cotton balls were smaller than the white ones, but I grew green and brown cotton, and that's how the ball was. It was a pale green and a pale beige. And the cool thing about those is the more you wash it, the deeper the color got. So you didn't have to dye it with an unnatural color, but you didn't really know what it was going to end up looking like. So you'd make a garment with it, and then the more you wash that garment, the more the color changed, which people into it really love that. But commercially, that's not great because it's not as consistent as what commercial people want. But it was fun to experiment. You know, it wasn't like I lacked room. We had 40 acres in the bottom and didn't use a fraction of that because we didn't need to. Yeah, even if I was back on the farm and I had permission and room if I wanted to have any kind of livestock, I was surrounded though with farms and mostly horse farms, but then our neighbors got some cows and chickens. And she wanted cows on her property, so when she retired, she could sit on her front porch and see cows on the lawn. I'm glad to say she did live long enough to experience that and was very happy doing that. But as a neighbor, I learned it stinks to have a farm with animals. I mean, literally, it smells really bad because the animals are always going to the bathroom wherever they happen to be, whether it's in a stable or the field. You've got poop everywhere. And, you know, I mean, that's just part of farm life. And I didn't mind it. A lot of times it was, I don't know, kind of pleasant. It was just like country smell. And everybody there ate well, so it wasn't like a sick smell. But I will tell you, it gets really tiring to smell it. On a summer day, when there's not enough wind, you don't want to be down breeze. And you see the difference in the Corriedale. It's just super fluffy, super fibrous-y. I mean, it's like way different than Merino. Now, I think the Merino I'm using comes from New Zealand. I know for a fact my fancier ones do, the more expensive ones. But like this Corriedale comes from sheep in Pennsylvania, and it's processed by mostly one woman who does everything. So Corriedale is, I don't know, it depends on the website. Sometimes it's a little bit more or less expensive. It doesn't vary all that much, but the Merino, the finer it is, the more expensive it is. Absolutely. I wish some of these farms were a little closer. There were, during COVID, a lot of things changed, which is a real shame because this is the kind of art that we need to keep alive. It's really a survival art, being able to make your own clothes. And you notice I don't need anything metal or plastic. I can do everything with just soap and water. Okie dokie doc. A piece of red silk. Very pretty, but doesn't belong in this. Now, Gary, you sold, you might not have much around right now without the holidays happening, but you were selling felted items from, I forget which country, Guatemala? People in other countries never stopped doing felting. That's more of a, when you change your lands, go to a different country and stop doing things that you did in the old country. Looks like we're going to use pretty much all of this to finish this up. Now, time to stand over it and have a sip of tea. Yummy. So yesterday was movie day with Michael, and we watched something that neither one of us had seen in over a decade, and that was Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, the first one. It held up. Completely ludicrous, a little gross, but not as gross as the ones coming up, where I don't know what was wrong in his brain when he created one of his characters, but I can tell you, as much as Glenn and I both enjoyed those movies, we learned to fast forward through the gross things like Fat Bastard. Like, why did you even include that? But hey, a comedy choice. I think appealing to small children who like gross things. Okay, and now it's time for the purple. Purple. The gorgeous stuff. We can sit down again. That's my elbow hitting rolling pin. Yep, don't go anywhere. Last thing I want is this rolling across the floor. Almost there. World Market. Is that a different store? I thought it was a product that was carried by yours. Pretty cool stuff. Oh, wait, you told me where to find it. That's right. It was a different website. I saw some, I thought I saw some at the local TJM. I guess I was wrong. I do remember that the items were a little chunkier than I wanted, you know, for like holiday decorations, but they were cool. It was nice that they were all handmade. It's been at least a year since I looked into that, so. Those movies were funny. Oh, they were. They were. I own all three of them, but see, I owned all that stuff on disc. And now my computers have not been reading my discs for some reason. So I have, over the years, transferred some into just buying them a second time and just using them to stream. Like I own, I think, all of the think all of the Police Academy movies, which are actually really funny. And as far as Austin Powers, I did not know who Beyonce was, quite honestly, because, well, I wasn't exposed to radio and TV for years, so I did not know who she was until she played Foxy Cleopatra in Goldmember. And I remember thinking, wow, she is really good. And it wasn't until after it's like, Beyonce. Oh, Beyonce. Like, duh. Of course she's good. Okay, let's look over this. Okay, I think we got it. So now let us wet it down again. Wait a second. I'm gonna really make sure because we don't get a second chance. That looks a little thin right there. Could use a little more right there. You know which movies also surprised me? They were way funnier than I expected. The Brady Bunch movies, the modern version. Way funnier than expected. And of course, all-star cast. Is that Michael McKean? He's one of the funniest artists around. He was great as Lenny from Lenny and Squiggy. He's great in Spinal Tap. I mean, just great in everything. What else did he do? I loved him in. Didn't recognize him at first. The one with Adam Sandler as the Devil's Kid. Yeah, they're cute, aren't they? I thought they were very well done. And I got introduced to a new generation of actors that I did not know existed. Like the people who did Zoolander. All of them are freaking hilarious. Look how much water we have in here. No good. I mean, air. We've got water, Fine. Air, no good. Yeah, get out. You need to make sure that the fibers, the silk and the viscose, make complete contact with the wool, not air bubbles. All right. Yep, that's definitely wet. Ta-da! Okay, you go there and dry it off while we fix our edges. Stay down. All right, corners. Come on. And now the bottom. And now let's get some of this excess water up. It's a squashy. Okay, that's going to be drippy. Okay, and now the felting begins. Once everything's wrapped like this, you work from the edges inward because you want those seams to really seal. And you don't want the fibers to get all spread out and mess with your shape. So you just gently move it, all the fibers toward the center around your resist. Now, as noted, this stuff turns out to felt really easily. I start to see a hair come through. That means flip it. Oh, look at those colors. Remember, we're looking at the inside of the bag. So it's just a lot of purple. Now, once we have some of the elementary felting taking place, we can remove this and just use soapy hands or another piece of plastic, flat side down. Now this is so silky, so fine a fiber that this just feels, there's no resistance. It's just real smooth. It's not gross at all. When I first saw it, I thought, that looks a little icky to me. But it turns out to not be at all. In fact, it's such a gentle art. It's very relaxing. If you weren't here, I wouldn't be talking out loud at all. Now you see these, I don't know if you can tell here, the texture already, just from it being thick. That is going to look so cool when it's done. Same thing with the bottom of the bed. We're just going to have this beautiful folded fabric effect that normally you need to sew to get in place, but because it's felting, it all becomes one piece. Now, where's the other thing? We don't need that. I want the softer side here. So let's get this back up. There we go. Smooth side down. Yeah. Sometimes it feels the bubbles are so distinct, even on the wrong side, you can feel them. They came out with a second Zoolander, didn't they? I love the first one. I don't remember the second one. Odds are I own it somewhere just because I like the first one so much. I'm sure I would have wanted to check out a second one. Yesterday we were talking about how Will Ferrell is just like so good with his disguises. When he was Mugatu, I didn't recognize him. And the irony is he dyed his own hair, he bleached his own hair white for the part. But then when he went on Saturday Night Live and another movie commitment, he had to wear a wig to make his hair his natural color. I can feel it getting more fabric-y. That's not really a word, but it'll work for now. More fabric-like. What other movies do you like to watch repeatedly because they're so funny? and kind of sweet. I haven't watched Bill and Ted in a while. Those two movies were very well done. And of course, the actors are great. Now, some movies are instant classics, like The Princess Bride. Every time you watch that, you get a little more out of it. Okay, we're going to squeeze some of this excess out and continue the felting. There. We got a lot of excess water in here. Let's get out of there. That's what the towel's for. And we're seeing the shrinkage starting. Start getting it wrinkled. Good sign. Smooth it out a bit. Yeah, which side are you going on? You're supposed to go that way. I have to make sure these seams can handle a stress test. Okay, this is a little harder this way. But this is where it pays to have a larger roller. You are not felting properly right there. Don't want to have a thing that's left over. Let's see if we can get you to felt the way you're supposed to. Let me see. Well, I could try that. Let's do it. Now, make sure we've got the edges right. Trying to get them to felt together. Okay. Let me check my water. I'm really hoping for some clean water. Okay. Have a wonderful, restful evening, my dear. See you soon. Let's see if I can do this right. Are you back, Doc? I think it's working. Well, it's working on the body for sure, but I want to make sure that the edges, the seams are really, really well sealed with that last layer. Bebop, be back. I am getting hungry. I just realized it's 5:02 and I've been here for 2 hours. But it looks like we're going to finish the worst of it today, and I'll finish the rest of it tomorrow after lunch, because tomorrow's our creative circle downstairs, and I get my cup of coffee. Yeah, we're getting good texture here. I think this is going to come out beautifully, as I hope, of course. Cowboy bebop. Oh, what is that? What you're listening to now? Time for a sip of tea if I can hold the cup. Soap is slippery. And I'm not really comfortable with washing my hands in the sink yet because the water is not quite clear. And you can really smell the chlorine. That's never a good sign. That means the water got too much raw sewage and they have to over-chlorinate it to balance it. Oh, I guess you like it. Famous anime. Oh, no, not for me. I'd never heard of it. But anime is not something I have gotten very much into. Oh, okay, we don't need to get that rough. Oh my God. Calm down. We definitely have shrinkage. We're doing well. So this is going to have to wait until tomorrow for sure because I have to have the hot water soaks. And I don't do the hot water soaks with purified water. And I'm not going to use anything but clean water, obviously. So it's going to just sit. I guess I should wrap it up in a piece of plastic for the night. Keep it wet. And then I just happen to have a nice piece. Yes, just barely enough. Doesn't have to be way tight. Just want to keep it damp for tomorrow. Now, I suppose I could leave these purple and the violet out, or lavender out, because I do have a request for another purple-based purse. But I will probably go with blues tomorrow. Blues, greens, black. So weird to have the water running, which is usually something I'm against, but got to clean those pipes out. So I wonder my humidity in this place is so high. All my little wet towels and stuff drying out. Okay, so let's get these suitcases. Okay, so this is what we're down to for our purples and lavenders. And I can get, oops, one more done for sure. Now this is Corriedale. This is a much rougher sample, so we'll probably use these together. This is gorgeous, and I've got a full ounce of it. It takes at least an ounce. I think I'm doing like 2 ounces per wallet, which is important to know when you're ordering your supplies. So at the rate I've been getting it, about $6, $7, it's about $7 to $9 for 2 ounces. But look at this. I have collected a lot of aquamarine so I can do my 100-year-old scarf. And here's the scarf. And these colors are like, holy mackerel. Definitely made for that. But I also ended up with a bunch of this shade, which is also absolutely gorgeous. So I am going to make a wallet with this. That is also amazing. Now this is Corriedale, and this is the same color in merino. Well, almost the same color. It's a little shade off. This is 19 microns, super fine. This is going into the scrap pile. So that's going to be for our next batch. But this is going to be part of our blues. Aquamarine. So beautiful. Now here I might be able to finally use some of the silk for strength, where you lay it down any way you want in a pattern, but this is silk yarn. So it's several strands of silk twisted into this one piece of silk. So this is very, very, very strong. And I'll be using some of that in this because that's the fringe color. And it is a very close match. So we're going to be bringing some of that down to the edges. But we're not ready to do this because I need a whole day downstairs to myself to work on that project. Okay, so we have everything we need, whoops, except water for the next project. But by tomorrow we will have clean water, which is a good thing because I need a shower. Let's put this over here to remind me of what I'm doing tomorrow. And as always, I have collected a bunch of scraps that will be used to create bookmarkers. And this time I've got a bunch of silk for contrast with this mishmash of colors. It's like, yeah, you'll work well for this kind of a thing. This is the super soft merino. It's just, I don't need this particular bit of color, and I've got more of this anyway. So we're gonna have fun, but then again, I always do. So thanks for hanging out, tuning in, remembering the thumbs up. I appreciate that. And we will finish this tomorrow. We'll get to see what it looks like on the inside, which is going to be the outside, of course. So until then, I'm signing off and finding something to eat. Actually, I already found it, but I'm going to go and make it.